do its thing here. It's not actually live, even though it says it is there. So 1 second. All right, cool. So I have 6:34. We have 4 people, so we have a quorum here. Of the 7 of us, Ed sent his regrets. Chris may try to chime in later on, and Dan, I have not heard from. He may chime in a little bit later on. I know he's being a principal. Things are probably kind of crazy for him right now as well. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that. Cool. All right. So first things first, approval and correction of minutes from August 18th. Thank you, as always, Dana, for putting these together. Can I entertain a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept them.
Okay. Rachel, can I get you to second it? I'm assuming you unmuted with a yes, so Rachel seconds. Is there any discussion on these? They look pretty accurate to me. Cool. All right, all in favor, say
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. All right, cool. First order of business done. Second of all right. Treasurer's report. Rachel, is there anything we should be aware of? You're still on mute.
Sorry about that. No, I didn't see anything noteworthy other than beach testing and our ongoing payroll.
Copy. Your mic is pretty faint. I don't know if it's just far away from you. I heard you. You're clear. Just really faint. So, all good. Awesome. Any questions or comments for Rachel? Again, we really haven't done much. No. Okay. And Sarah, do you anticipate there being any other expenses that are due to come in between now and say the next meeting?
I don't, unless there's things that they do. I don't know if that's going to be between now and the next meeting, but I think they do something to like winterize like the bathrooms or something. I remember that from like last year, because they're not going to be running all winter, but that's probably not going to happen yet. But I don't really know when that happens.
Okay.
But other
Rick,
than that, I think.
Yeah, because Rick is on. I was just going to ask, Rick, do you have any thoughts on anything we should be aware of expense-wise for Rick?
I am not aware of anything offhand. We did repair the solar shades, but that did not come out of the rec budget.
Yeah, I talked to Trish the other day because I believe Councilor Cook is putting that on the agenda for the town council, just as a heads up. Had a question about where it went. Again, you're right. We're not involved with it, but I think she was wondering where it went. So my understanding it's getting fixed.
Yes, Stu. She mentioned it at last night's town council meeting, and Chris gave an explanation, and they were repaired, and we did pick them up this week, and they're scheduled to be put back up next week.
Cool. Awesome. Just in time to take them down for the winter, right?
Well, we hope to get a little use out of them with the nice weather that hopefully is still coming.
Yep. Oh, agreed. Okay, cool. Thank you, Rachel. All right. Sarah, Recreation Coordinator's report. Do you want me to share what you sent me?
Sure.
All right, 1 sec here. All right, can everybody see my screen?
Yes. So this is just a comparison of the revenue that we took in at the beaches over from 2019 and 2020. So we made $30,000 more this summer, and we weren't even open for most of June, where last summer we were. So the beach was very busy. I had to order passes like 3 times. So, I mean, that's one thing. We did take in a lot of revenue, which is great for the town. And There was something else I was gonna say before this, but I lost my train. Oh, and so sorry, I totally forgot what I was just gonna say because I was gonna say something before I talked about this. I don't know what I was going to say, but I do, on a side note to the commission, I want to thank all of you for the gift that Stu sent me today. And it was a lot of hard work this summer, but none of this would be possible without all of you as well. So it's a team effort. A lot of you were there helping in different ways this summer, which really, I think, we made more money, partly because Bob was there in the morning, and then Stu and Dana were coordinating people to come to clean the beach. So it was definitely a team effort to have things run smoothly this summer. So thank you all for everything. And part of it, I think the revenue, I don't think this is going to be like a trend where it's going to grow every summer. My guess is the beach ended up being more crowded because there wasn't really anything else to do. So people were coming to the beaches, but it benefited us. So that's great. I wouldn't be surprised if next summer it's lower again, but we'll take it for something good in 2020, right?
I think what helped too was South Shore.
Yes.
They made a lot of changes at South Shore this year.
Mhm.
So that kept more of our residents coming to our beach, which doesn't really generate the money here. But
Yep.
a lot of like Massachusetts stuff, the cars were coming to Fogland rather than going to South Shore because they really couldn't get into South Shore.
I've heard actually, one day this summer too, I actually heard someone at South Shore giving directions to Fogland because they were out of spots. So then they gave someone directions to Fogland. And then there was days when I was at Fogland and people were saying we tried to get into South Shore. We got there at 8:30 and we got locked out. So we came here. So I do think that helped as well. And we had limited parking towards the beginning, and then we found that the actual beach wasn't crowded even when the parking lot was full, just because of the way our beach is set up. Because basically everyone, you park your car and then you sit usually right in front of your car, and then there was enough space between people on the beach too. So, but yeah, that's all I really have for now. So
Great job, Sarah.
Yep. I will. I think I speak for all of us when I say you did an incredible job this summer. There was a lot going on, and thank you for how you handled it with grace.
yeah,
Appreciate it.
thanks. I tried.
You and I will debrief at some point, probably in the next week or two, just to kind of wrap up on the summer and get notes from that. And if you have anything you want to just put down in bullet points ahead of time, that's great. If not, what I normally will do is we'll just set up a call and I'll record it and then take notes off of that. So
Okay. There are some things from the Red Cross that we'll still need to purchase probably before next season if we can do that.
Mhm.
Just more safety equipment that either we don't have or they suggest needs to be updated. So that'll be something that we can look into before next season as well.
We'll have to take a look because the budget that's in for the budget committee, which is the only one that's going forward, a lot of the things we proposed from last year were in that budget and got kept. And I want to say it was $11,000 in supplies. So
Okay.
Unless it got reduced again, which I don't think it did.
Okay.
That was, and I have to double check candidly.
Right.
So, Mr. Perry, are you with us? Did I see you pop in?
Yeah, I'm here, Stu. I'm just not on video.
No worries. Just wanted to say hi.
Yeah.
How's it going? Hi, Dana.
Cool.
Hey, Joe, can you see us?
Oh yeah, I can see you, but I don't have my camera on. Oh yeah, there you go.
What do you think?
Bob keeps forgetting I can turn his camera off if I want to. Oh God. On that note, are there any other questions for Sarah? Again, great job this summer, Sarah, and I'll debrief with you soon.
Okay, thank you.
All right. We didn't get any messages from folks on public comment, so we're just going to keep trucking. General business, these are things that were left over from last time. I'm going to kind of do these in reverse order, if that's all right with everybody, just on Fogland Beach, because Bob and I have been in contact with Mr. Bina. We actually went down there and did a tour of the beach and talked to him for quite a while, and looked at a few options. The chief and I have also been trying to take a look at how some ordinances might work based on those conversations. And also it's mentioned in I don't know, you can't see what I'm pointing at here, at the beach fees that Bob has crafted here. So they're referenced in there. Chief Jones has been really helpful with that. So, I think it's one of those things that's moving forward. It's not going to move as fast as anybody, including I'm sure the Binas, would like it to, but we did have a really productive conversation. And I think there's a pathway forward. Bob, did you have anything you wanted to toss in on that one?
No, like I say, I mean, I think we're heading in the right direction. That little group meeting we had, Chief Jones came up with a lot of, I think, good ideas, and so I left with a positive feeling on that. Again, it's going to take some time, and we're going to need the council's backing also. So, but we're heading in the right direction, I believe, anyways.
Agreed. Can I ask you to, you and I can figure out, I can give you some updates offline just as I'm getting more info. For example, Mr. Bina asked us to look at the potential of a land swap, if that was even an option. I said to him, and Chris Cotter reiterated, it has to go through the town council. We don't have that kind of authority, but we did hear him out and take a look at where his piece of land is and where the other one was, and just trying to get as much information as possible. And he did share some with me. So I'll pass that information off to you, Bob, and then maybe you can follow up with him and just keep him in the loop as we go forward. Let's do
Sure.
it. Awesome. All right. On the other item, which is status of the holiday tree lighting, you'll notice there's nothing here to make a vote. I'm not intending to have us do that tonight. I just wanted to kind of put it out to the group and take everyone's temperature and see how people feel. And I don't know. What are our thoughts so far?
Well, I think we just gotta hold out a little bit longer and see how things are gonna go with, with the kids back in school and everything. I mean, maybe we could just do something where it's actually just a tree lighting if need be, and not anything indoors, something outside, which maybe we'll all have to dress really warm for. But I mean, I'd like to do something.
I was thinking about, see if we could do, again, it'd be all outdoors, excuse me, but do the tree lighting and then do like a drive-by with Santa standing out by the tree. Maybe we can get a big box of some type and kids can drive by and they can put Dear Santa letters in a box or something. The schools would, from my opinion anyway, the schools would be out, nothing indoors. But we could have, see if the fire department could bring Santa in like an engine, like we usually do, have the tree lighting like we normally do, but just have Santa outside by the tree. And again, like I said, we can get a big box or something, and have the younger kids throw letters to Santa in that.
I did see a friend of mine posted some pictures that they had taken when they went up to Santa's Village up in New Hampshire. And what they had was the Santa, I don't know if you guys have all been there, but Santa's in his normal chair, but they had a bench and about, must have been at least 6 feet, I'll say, in front of them. And that's what the kids sat on. So when they took the picture, the kids were in the foreground on the bench with Santa in the background. And it was kind of 2020-ish. It would be memorable anyway.
So I think the idea had come up with Trunk or Treat about doing like tickets and doing like times, designated times. And so I'm game for looking at that and seeing what the technology would be to allow you to like reserve time with Santa.
Right.
I don't know. I'm sure we can come up with something. I like what you're proposing. I also think from the tree lighting standpoint, we could go super 2020 and have it a live feed of the tree lighting occurring in addition to whatever we do. So, I mean, my initial feeling is kind of like you right now, Dana, is I'm not ready to pull the plug on it. I still see a lot of pitfalls, but I don't know. I'm game to keep talking through it.
Hey, Stu, just so everybody knows, we were approved for the middle school and Fort Barton for both the tree lighting and the trunk or treat. So if we do decide to have it there, we have been approved to use both facilities.
Awesome.
Nice.
Cool. All right. So sound good if we just sort of revisit next month? Does that work for everyone? I figure
Yeah.
we'll do the go, no go on this meeting next month. Awesome. All right. In order on here, and I will send my apologies to Dave Paul if he's watching, because I forgot to notify him. We had a dog park committee meeting, but Bob, maybe you can fill in on that when we get there. Town Farm, just really quickly, we picked a vendor, Compton, which we're really excited about. Anybody who watched it, they came in with a really dynamic view. Now we're getting into doing the details on the project. I actually probably need to go in front of the town council and just give them an update sometime soon. So essentially what's happening is the Compton's looking to do the outdoor fitness space and the playground, while another part of the working group is focusing on the pickleball courts, 6 pickleball courts and 2 tennis courts. What we figured out is that in order to accomplish what we want for pickleball, we have to extend the courts by 13 feet total. So that's something that came up in the last week, and we're just taking a look at what that would require, both from a cost and a logistics standpoint. But
I'm sorry, how many I'm sorry, I'm taking my notes here. How many courts did you say?
6 pickleball,
6 pickleball. Okay.
2 tennis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
we're-
Sorry.
And actually, the nice thing for people that play tennis is that when the courts get done, they'll be brand new courts, so they'll have better playing surfaces.
Mhm.
And we're not eliminating tennis.
Mhm. Awesome.
From Compton, their message to us, and while we don't have a firm date yet, is that trying to have this open by summer of 2021.
Wow.
So at least the playground portion of it, potentially both. They want to do both at the same time because you end up bringing equipment in at the same time, so it's cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that committee, and there are some incredible volunteers on it, are chomping at the bit to get going, and one of the next big pieces is fundraising too. So more will be coming as soon as we have the visual, the mock-up of what it's all going to look like, and then we can use that as a leverage point to
And
raise
could
funds.
you spell the name of that company? Compton?
Compton, KOMPAN.
Thank you.
So that's Town Farm. We're pretty psyched. We're moving forward. We haven't signed a contract with them yet, just to be clear, but we selected them as a vendor, and now there's like the administrative work that's got to go with it. So on the dog park side, Mr. Sodoma, anything we
Yes.
should be aware of?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Dog park, any news?
I got nothing to say on a dog park.
Okay, cool.
Matter of
Sure.
fact, if anybody else that's on the commission would like to take over on the liaison, I wouldn't mind
Sure.
giving it up.
I usually invite Dave Paul on to give an update, and I will confess I just forgot to notify him. So that's on me.
Okay. I'm going to work on a Trump campaign, so I don't really have a lot of time to.
If we end up canceling the the tree lighting, I'm gonna tell them it's because you had to dedicate time to a Trump campaign.
Yeah, instead of trunk or treat, it's Trump or treat.
Trump, the Trump lighting.
The Trump lighting, yeah.
Oh, lovely. All right, moving on. Couple things in here. We have a request from East Bay Field Hockey to use Pecasset from September 27th through November 15th. The only potential conflict was with Little League because they have stuff going on at the same time, but the fields are big enough. It's not going to overlap. I checked with Little League and they said it was fine. So, you know, what I'd like to do, same as usual, ask for a vote, then we can discuss if there's anything. Could I get a motion to approve the request from East Bay Field Hockey Club?
I'll make a motion
Can I get a
to
second?
approve.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Discussion. Any questions, comments, concerns? They've been here before, so. All right. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Perfect. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstained? Beautiful. I will let Brittany know that they are approved. Excellent. Okay. Mr. Sonoma, I'm going to turn this one over to you. This is a discussion point for beach planning. Done a lot of work here. Talk us through it.
Okay. We came up with I came up with a couple of different things as far as the beach goes. The parking. I think attached to all the stuff I sent was a comparison with different cities and towns around us do. But I'd like to see this year if we could get the council to approve that we charge Tiverton residents $10 for a beach pass. But we charge them $10, but we give them $10 worth of town trash bags. This way here, we're really not charging them. I'd like to see if we could raise the rates Monday through Friday from $10 to $15, and Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays from $15 to $20. That'll put us right in line with what South Shore did this year. We don't know what South Shore is going to do next year, but that'll put us at least even to what South Shore did this year. So that's one thing that I'd like to see if we could agree on and get before the council. I think Joe would be give us a better answer than I could give, but I don't think that'll go through this year. I should say this with this council. The other thing is I'd like to see if we could try opening the beaches. The biggest complaint that I got this year, both in person and a lot of stuff on Facebook, is how the outsiders were getting in before town residents. I think we've all heard that. So South Shore does right now. South Shore, the first hour that South Shore is open is for town residents only. I believe that's from 8 to 9. And then from 9 to 4, it's open to the general public. And then from 4 to 10 at night, it's back to Little Compton residents only. I'd like to see if we could open our beaches, and I think it's going to draw more revenue, but I'd like to see if we could open our beaches at 7 o'clock in the morning, go from 7 to 9 with town residents only. Grinnell's would be Rhode Island residents only. And then from 9 to 5, or actually 9 to 7, we could leave it open to the general public. And then from 7 to 10, back to Tiverton residents or Rhode Island residents only. I think it's going to draw in more revenue. I think it'd be easier if we're open 12 hours. It would be easier to schedule people. You could schedule them 6 hours at a time, 6-hour shifts. I'd also like to see if we could have 2 lifeguards on at a time instead of 1. This way here, the lifeguards would have somebody to talk to, number one, instead of being all by themselves. If they had to go to the restroom break or something, you'd still have somebody there watching while they went to the bathroom. I don't know what the situation is. I don't know how much difficult we've had in the past getting lifeguards. Is that something that's difficult to get, Sarah?
Yes. So this summer we had more lifeguards than we had last summer, but we still only had 6. So I don't know if we'd be able to have 2 at both beaches every single day.
Okay. I say, I mean, this is just something that, like food for thought, something I'd like to try.
Yeah.
I think it would increase our revenue a lot. Even if we just tried Fogland this year, opening at 7 to 7, that's where we draw most of our money. And we could turn Grinnell's into a resident-only beach. Get a lot of comments about that. And when I say Grinnell's resident-only, I'm talking Rhode Island residents only, because that's the way it has to get set up because of the grant. But if we could turn Grinnell's into a Rhode Island or resident-only, if we can get them to pass that $10 charge for Tiverton residents, then we can charge any other Rhode Island resident, $15 and $20. $15 for weekdays and $20 for weekends and holidays. That would help us recoup some of the money that we take or we're going to lose from turning Grinnell's into a resident-only beach. That's just my thought. I know Stu and I, we talked about possibly South Shore has a Little Compton residents. I called there. I spoke to the town clerk. Little Compton residents do not pay for beach passes. They're free at Little Compton. They have a $170 season pass that they sell to anybody who wants to buy a season pass. You could Tiverton, Westport, whatever. Stu and I, we did talk about possibly bringing in a season pass for our beaches. However, before we do that, I think we want to look over the numbers to make sure that we're not going to lose money by going to switching over to like South Shore to go to a season pass. So I mean, that's just something that I put out there, just food for thought. And then the last thing was the camping. Stu and I took a ride down to Fogland a couple of weeks ago, and we just got a rough idea of where we could put, say, 6 campers. I came up with a list of rules and regulations and also a draft of an application that people would have to fill out. I think we should try it, and this is Chief Jones's idea, and I think it's a great idea, actually. If we get the council to go along with this, we could do it on a 1-year trial basis, just this coming summer, and make it for Tiverton residents only for the first year, just to try it and see how it works. I think Stu sent an email out with all this information on it. I'm trying to find it on my phone because, knowing me.
Yeah, it went out with a meeting invite for this meeting.
What's
So
that?
It's attached as a shared folder.
Anybody gonna, Stu, you got anything to say on this? AKA, you want to bail me out?
So I do have a couple of different thoughts. I think conceptually a lot of it makes sense. The trash bags correlation piece I like, although I want to get Rick's thoughts on that in a minute. If you realize, the cost on trash bags, whether they're $1, $2, $3, I don't know what that is. It's still
$2. It costs the town $2. So we would actually, for everyone that we gave out, versus every pass that we sell. And it's not that we want to make money on this. That's not the idea of making money off the Tiverton residents, but we would basically make $8 per sticker.
Yeah. So this past year, Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, we would have made roughly $16,000 in, and not counting the offsetting expenses, but about $16,000 in town stickers.
Right. And there's some people who, I think this would change if they had to pay for it, but there's some town residents who don't want a sticker and show their registration every single time they come. But if we were to charge residents we would potentially give out more because you wouldn't have that option to just come on the beach, like just show as your registration every single time. Do you know what I mean? Because like you can't charge
Right.
some residents and not others because they say they don't want one. But when it's free, you can just like, okay, show me your registration every time. If they don't want to put a sticker on their car. But if we were charging them, we could potentially give out more stickers because people would have to get them.
Yep.
So,
Well,
but
and
yeah, this year we gave out about 1,600, so we would have made like $16,000 if we charged 10 for every single one.
so a couple different things I think we need to look at. My initial reaction to Grinnell's being a Rhode Island resident beach makes sense. Although, because I do think when I had a conversation with Chris Cotta about this briefly, I think we want to check what the requirements for the grant are. And if there's any reason that we can't just limit it to Rhode Island residents, if we have to keep it open more than that. So just something to consider. Rick, can I get your take on the connecting the trash bags to the parking pass concept?
The thought that I had was there may be some disagreement by some people in the town because currently the $8 or so, and as Bob said, it very well could be $2. I don't know that off the top of my head, but thank you, Bob. But typically that $8 would go into the landfill capping account. So some people may not wish it to go to recreation. However, seeing the numbers that you had this year, I think that's a good selling point that if you're not going to be allowed to use those Tiverton trash bag receipts with a $10 fee, then it would be fair to say that maybe some of that extra $30,000 should be going towards recreation committee.
Well, and therein lies an interesting concept is that, so recreation would still have to be accountable for the per bag costs. So what we'd have to, as part of a proposal on this, is there would have to be a restricted amount that essentially would help pay for some of that, I think. And the weird dynamic here would be if revenue that came in, a portion of it was restricted to pay for bags, when the rest of the revenue in turn goes back into the general budget, like you just kind of sort of end up doing this weird circle where almost none of it stays with rec. But it's a step in the right direction, I think. So something to consider. I do like the idea. I just want to make sure we're not going to shoot ourselves in the foot.
If I may say, Stu, it seems to be a more concrete way with the bags of having it in the rec budget if they allow you to keep it. Whereas it seems typically, and I've heard this before at other meetings, even when you guys make money, it doesn't seem to really show up when you go to the
Right.
budget committee and say, I'd like to do this or do that. They don't seem to really take that into account. So it would have to either be a bigger push towards, it would be nice to keep some of the revenue you make, or if that's not the case, how about this Tiverton pay as you throw bags? And even if they say no to the pay as you throw bag revenue, you say, well, we've come up with viable options, and you say no, and that's fair enough, town fathers, but how about considering more the revenue that we take in? Because it seems in the past, they simply turn down the fact that you make revenue, but if you afford them other opportunities, in other words, if you ask for the same thing in different ways, sometimes you get a yes eventually.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with Sarah that I think the numbers we got this year are probably going to be higher than we're going to see next year. I think it's a little bit of an unusual situation, but the reality here is that if we made 41,800 in 2019 and we made 71,430 in 2020, the 2021 is going to have a number that's somewhere in between there. And I think being able to take some of the revenue, apply it towards helping recreation improve what we offer is a really positive thing. I know, and this conversation's come up a number of times, the idea of being able to rake the beach a little bit more and have more consistency. I know that there are other towns that do that, and Rick, thank you for helping research some of that. But how being able to have funds that could help us do better upkeep on our equipment and to be able to improve and grow our recreational resources, I don't see how we're going to be able to accomplish that purely through budgeting alone. I think there's got to be a way where additional funds are set aside and then reinvested back into it. It just, I don't see it happening otherwise. So Bob, to kind of bring this all home, based on what we do with a proposal, I think we also need to look at asking for a portion of the funds to be restricted starting in 2021 to help with upkeep, maintenance, all that good stuff. So financially, does that sort of make sense to everybody? Am I off base here?
No, sounds good.
How does everybody feel about raising the prices? Again, Monday through Friday, up to from $10 to $15, and then Saturday, Sundays, and holidays from $15 to $20. Does that seem reasonable to everybody?
I just don't want us to price ourselves out. Does that make, you know what I mean? I want us to, this seems like this year we were kind of like the haven that everybody could get into when they couldn't get into other beaches, which was good. It worked to our benefit as per the numbers. If I was going to pay that kind of money, I'd probably rather go to South Shore if I could get in.
If you can get in.
If I can get in.
And if they're allowing you in. Like I did a lot of research on the different beaches around the area and stuff like that. Westport, for instance. Westport beaches are only open to Westport residents only.
Okay.
Westport residents have to pay $30 for a beach pass. Seniors pay $20. And you have to have a beach pass on your vehicle 365 days a year to go to any of the beaches. It could be February 14th, Valentine's Day, you're sitting there having a cup of coffee. If the police department pulls in and they don't see a beach pass on your vehicle, it gets towed. Middletown was only for this year, was only for Middletown residents only. And they only sold, I believe it was $30. I'm not sure now off the top of my head, but I had it in the comparison chart that I had there. I don't think it's outrageous to charge the $15 and the $20. But again,
Middletown was 70. 70 for middle.
Can I say one thing about the resident only? So I know a lot of beaches did that this year. At the beginning of the season, I was talking to someone from Little Compton, and he said that they looked into that at one point and was told that if the town takes any federal funding for like anything, so even if like schools and all that, if you limit it to just your residents, you could potentially lose all of your federal funding. So that would be something would definitely have to look into, because I'm sure Tiverton takes federal funding for their schools, and maybe for other things as well. So we would have to make sure that isn't something. And I think this year things were different because of COVID. So they were able to limit who was coming, because South Shore doesn't always do what they did this year. They don't even have a gate usually, and people can go to the beach at any time, and they're not going to go in and charge you, or there's no one at the opening except for the hours, like how we did at Fogland. So I think we need to just kind of be careful about looking at what was done this year because hopefully not every year is going to be like 2020.
Right.
But that's just a thought. to look into and kind of just keep in the back of our minds before we make any decisions about that.
Yeah,
I
think
I was just say, I personally don't like the idea of a resident-only beach because I just like things to be more inclusive, because it's not just the beach that it affects, because these people are coming into town from other places and they're also bringing revenue when they go to Gray's and they get ice cream, or they go to Cumberland Farms and they get their drinks, or the Red Dory and maybe they get some takeout, or, it brings Evelyn's and get their fried clams, it brings
Mhm.
other, revenues. They're going to Helga's for their ice cream, going to the liquor store, whatever. It adds more to the community, when we're getting, people coming in and they're like, oh, look at that cute little cheese shop. Let me stop there.
Again, I wouldn't say Fogland. I would not want to make Fogland a resident beach only.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, I wouldn't want to do it with either one.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just going on like the feedback I got from
Yeah.
residents and
No,
stuff
I mean,
while
and
we're
I
out there
agree.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I figure, like, as we are members of the commission,
Mhm.
we are also the ears of the public. I mean, the public
Right.
says something to
Right.
us. It should be our job to represent the public too on this. Now, again, I mean, it doesn't bother me either way, whichever way you want to go. It doesn't really bother me.
Yeah.
I'm just giving feedback to the commission
Right.
on complaints and stuff that I heard from both out there, being at the beaches, and
Mhm.
also some stuff you read on Facebook.
Mhm.
the place where I'm having a hard time getting behind a resident-only beach is if you look at what we brought in for Grinnell's this year. So we brought in just over $18,000. If we implemented a resident parking pass, in theory, we would bring in, again, based on this past year, about 16,000, 16,500. So what that would ultimately lead to is $2,000, $1,500 less than we brought in this year for the same properties. And so the challenge I have is, while I am very sympathetic to residents that want to have a property that's their own, I'm concerned that for us, that's not treading water. That's kind of going backwards a little bit. And so I think there may be other ways we can look at this where there may be revenue to generate. And so one of the things you and I had talked about before is the out of state season pass. And the example that I used was, if you look at what skiing has done, skiing figured out that most people were skiing 6 days a year. So they made the cost of a pass equivalent to 7 days. So when people said, oh, we're going to buy a season pass, they got it for 7 days and they actually skied one more day and bought more on the mountain. And so, to your point, Dana, how do we look at what the cost or the average of expense for people coming in from out of town is, and make it just enough so it's appealing to them to want to buy it, but also encourages them to spend more at local businesses and the other parts to it. So I think it's a hard number for us to track that, because we don't have any info based on repeat visitors, really. We just know that people are spending. But I think we should kind of look at it, and it may not be a 2021 thing, could be a 2022 thing, and we figure out how to get data this next year. Bob, the other thing that I'm trying to wrap my head around a little bit, and I like where you're going with it, is designated times for residents. I think you could probably make an easier case about, first 2 hours are resident only in a morning. That I can get behind. On the back end of it, I'm trying to logistically figure out how would we kick people out, right? So somebody parks a car and they walk 50 yards down the beach. I'd hate to be the officer who, with the ordinance, decided to tow that poor person's car. And then the fallout from that. I'm just trying to think. I think the beginning, it makes a lot of sense. The end, I logistically am struggling with.
I see the problem there. Little Compton does it. How they accomplish this, I don't know. Again, we like anything else, do baby steps. If we can do the first 2 hours in the morning, see how that works out, and then maybe the following year, we can do a little bit more research and make it where, the last few hours is back to Tiverton residents only. Let's take baby steps. Let's do the morning first, first 2 hours. See how that works out, and then work from there.
I think there's a incentive here potentially. And Sarah, I saw your hand up. I want to come back, but if we do something where we're charging residents for a sticker and we're also simultaneously saying there's a 2-hour block here that's only for residents, you don't have a sticker, you don't come through the gates, we're giving them more as a result of what we're asking for from them. So just as a thought for one extra piece. But Sarah, you had your hand up before.
Yeah, so one thing, I think what Little Compton does is they still have someone at the gate after hours, and then they only let people in who have stickers. So it's not like they kick people off the beach, but they don't let any other people in. They do the same thing where when they're getting close to capacity, like the last like 25% of the cars that they let in, if you have a sticker, they let you in, but if you don't, you can't get in. So they do it that way, but they have someone at the gate. On a side note, with the earlier end, 7 a.m., like who's going to be there? Because I basically work every single day in the summer. I think I maybe had like 3 days off until I went back to school, and then like the kids were running it. And I had 3 days off when I was in New Hampshire. And so like working every single day at 7 a.m. is not something I don't think I can do that. Because even getting there every day for 9 a.m. by like, maybe like the first or second week, like it's exhausting with no days off. And I don't think I could do 7 a.m. So that would be something that would definitely need to be figured out.
Yeah, agreed.
So
Dana?
Going back to the Grinnells with like the parking situation, and we do have that lot that's behind Cumberland Farms, or in that general area anyway. Is there some way we could, I mean, I know we've talked about this on and off for years. Is there some way we could use that, like maybe as a resident only, if it's full, only residents could go there, or something to do with that, to expand our numbers for cars being, because it's such a small lot, Grinnell's. At least it would give us, I don't even know how big that lot is. I don't know how many it would give us, but at least would give us more cars.
I think it's feasible. I don't have enough info on that particular lot. I've driven back there and looked at it. It's not huge, but
No.
It's
We need
space.
Chris.
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, you may be onto something. I think at the end of the day, the question really comes down to, and I appreciate your clarification on it, Sarah, about the end of day and letting people in. That makes a lot more sense. Again, I don't know if we're letting just residents in on the back end of this. We're not necessarily generating more revenue. We're providing a benefit to the citizens, which has value.
Mhm.
And so figuring out where the fine line in there between doing what's in the best interest of the residents, but also having it cost more, that's one of those interesting dances I think we're going to have to think out a little more. So with the books closing on September, when we have all the numbers together, Bob, why don't we do another review between now and October, and I'll help you out and just take a look at what our expenses were, and then come up with a proposal for what we financially think it would look like for 2021. And then that will put that in front of everybody's plate for next meeting.
Yep.
So,
Hey, one other thing too. When we had that meeting, the chief, my battery's running low. I get the thing plugged in. The chief brought up about having a designated area for parking for Tiverton residents only. I think that's something that we could look into too. Hang on one second while I plug me in. There we go. That's something that that's something that we can look into is an area down at Fogland where we can do residents only. I think, and I think you, the chief, aren't you coming up with, see if we can come up with some type of ordinance to keep people off the beach from the time it closes until the time it opens? Stowe?
yeah, no, we're working on something along those lines, just to give some teeth to it.
I just have a
Okay.
question. Why would we need a resident only area at Fogland?
It would be easier for the police department to, if you had an area for Tiverton residents only,
Uh-huh.
and say we had people, say we closed the beach down at 7 o'clock for Tiverton residents, okay? Anybody that was parked in the area that was not Tiverton residents only, they could actually go up to those cars and say, okay, you're not a Tiverton resident, you're gonna leave. it would make it easier for the police department to patrol
Mhm.
and make it easier for them to clear the beach if we had to.
Oh, okay.
It was something Chief Jones suggested. So
Mhm.
I think it's all a matter of trying to make life easier for them and also kind of keep things together. So we'll keep talking through it. The
Question. Oh, can you take an interruption there, Stu?
please go ahead, Rick.
Along with Dana was saying, are there other places, and this may be not viable whatsoever, but when they have big events at some places, they have a off-campus parking, and then they have little shuttles. And I'm not saying you could do it, but is there a way to do something, whether it's a golf cart, and maybe that's not legal on the road? I think it's not. But some kind of shuttle, if there was other spots around Grinnell's that you could get some parking, whether it's at Fort Barton School, behind Cumberland Farms, you could just walk across the street. But some kind of parking lots that are available, even Town Hall, where people could park and you could control it, and then they could be shuttled down to the beach. There's probably too many things to have to work out to make that viable. But are there any other spots around that you could have off-campus parking and shuttle people in?
I'm sure there are, and I love the idea of taking advantage of the resources we have elsewhere. I think on a day-to-day basis, one of the bigger challenge would be the cost or the liability associated with transporting people to and from beaches. And so I think with events and eventually getting to the point where not at Grinnell's but at Fogland, that exact situation you just suggested, love to look at. And we'd have to coordinate if it was at one of the schools with the school, especially in season. But I think that's one of those ones like let's put it sort of on the parking lot space for discussion and keep looking at it. Because down the road, as we go forward, there may be a need to do that. I think what Bob was suggesting based on Chief Jones was just trying to herd cars together so it was easier for them to identify. But when we run into overflow, it would be nice to have someplace to go. So not opposed to diving back into that further. Cool. All right. The only other thing I was going to note, Bob and I, when we went down there, took a look at where RV spaces would be. I think the idea was that, as we talked about, RVs could be a extra set of eyes down in that space. So I think that'll be part of the proposal that we put together, or that Bob puts together for those. Cool. Bob, anything else on beaches before we kind of move on?
Again, I mean, just I think we should just like take baby steps at this. But right now, no, I think we had a very good season. We had, like we all know, we did have a few little issues here and there, bumps on the road. But all in all, I think we for first year, I think we had a very good beach season.
Yep. And again, credit to Sarah and her team.
And I'd like to thank Joe Perry for getting up and going down there at 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning with me for a half dozen weekends when, he could have been nice and warm in bed like me, but we got up and, we did it because, we're town people and we do it for the town. I think it worked. It definitely, the numbers did drop every week that we're there, people trying to come in early. That's why I think, I really think that the 7 o'clock a.m. open would really help, would really work. And I just think it's worth giving it a try. That's all.
Do you have a comment?
Well, first of all, thank you to all of you guys that went down there regularly. But I did want to touch base, and I'm not sure if this is the spot to do it, about the volunteers. And a couple of thoughts on them this summer about one, I'm in the process, I'm putting a list together of the people that volunteered. I'm gonna send them all a message, thanking them and asking any students that volunteered, because, you know, we had several kids that wanted to do this for community service for school, to give me a list of their hours total, match it up with what I have, kind of. And maybe we can send letters to, or emails actually, to the different schools. Stu, do you want to send the letter, or do you want to send me a letter and I'll just send it out? Or
I'm
you
happy to
had
do
that
whatever.
great letter that you did for the ones at Christmas.
Yeah, I'm happy to do whatever. Just let me know. what you
Okay,
need.
I'll put together the names and the hours and send you that list, and where with the appropriate email to send them to. And then I was just thinking that, you know, I mean, hopefully if we're not going through pandemic again in the spring, hopefully we can, you know, touch base with the schools that do the community service earlier and maybe set this up a little more in advance and get more kids to volunteer, because the ones that did do it, I mean, the younger kids, I'll say, like the 8th graders, they really enjoyed it, and at least they said they did anyway.
It was great, and I'd love to try and see if we can get more folks involved with that too. And I also think it's a good opportunity for us to connect with the litter commission.
Yeah, yeah. Sure.
So yeah, so let me know how I can help with what you're doing. Thank you for taking that on, Dana. And
No problem.
we'll regroup with the trash committee. Litter.
I just want to, can I just, one other thing just popped in
Yeah.
my head. The
Go for it.
camping, did anybody have a chance to look over the rules and regulations as far as like campers go and the application? You want to just bring that up again next meeting?
Yeah, I think so. I do want to take a look and see, you know, my first question for you is, where did you pull this info from? Did you create it? Was there a source document used? Like, how'd you come up with all the info in here?
What's that?
How did you come up with the info in the rules and regulations?
Well, what I did was, I've been camping since I was a little kid. And what I did was I took, there's a camping organization that I belong to called Thousand Trails. I took some of the rules and regulations from them that we use over there. I went into the state of Massachusetts and I got some rules from that the state of Massachusetts had, like the generator rule for one. And I went into Rhode Island also and, you know, picked off some rules and regulations they have. One of them would be like 4 people per campsite, 4 adults per campsite, or 2 adults and their children in their care, stuff like that. What I'm trying to avoid is having someone go in there and have, you know, make this into a big party scene. We don't want that. This is going to be for camping. It's going to be a family-oriented thing, you know, husband, wife, you know, 3 kids, 4 kids, whatever. No pets, no fires, no alcohol. That's all stuff that we have in both Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and some of the camping organizations I belong to, as far as the guests and stuff like that. Again, it's just a draft. It's just something that, you know, I put a little bit of time into looking here and there and here and there and plugging it in. The application is basically simple. And as far as the rigs itself go, the campers itself goes, they have to be 100% fully self-contained. They have to have their own drinking water. They have to have their own gray water, and they have to have their own black water. We will not have any dumping stations or anything else like that. No electricity. Basically, it's dry camping. So some of that's in there is also under rules like dry camping and stuff.
So, I mean, I like the direction this is going. I think you did a good job, and thank you for putting it together. After you and I took a look at it, one of the things that might be worth us considering is, instead of doing like 6 spots, is at least for 2021, limiting it down to like 2 or 3, somewhere in there, just to get a feel for it, and then do a review afterwards and come back. I'd also love to run this past Linda, who had raised the concerns before. I think you know them, and they're down there all the time. They help take care of trash. They're the kind of people we want down here. And I'd be curious to get her take just on this too, because I'm not an RV person, so I don't really have an opinion. But no, you know, first glance looks really good. So thank you. Dana?
Bob said something and made me think of something I saw about the fires. Now, when I went to, because somebody on Facebook was asking about fires, so I went to the town website and it says open fires are not allowed. Does that mean we can have contained fires? Like in a pit
Grill?
or grill?
Yes, you can have them in a grill or a
Mhm.
contained area, yes.
All right, because when I went to answer, I was like, "Ooh, wait a minute." Thank you,
People
Joe.
can be, people can bring little gas grills or something like that that's contained, that's allowed.
But as far as like campfires and dig a hole in a beach and have a fire,
Right.
that's a no-no.
Right. Well, I knew you could bring the grills. I just never really thought about a fire pit. That just
Grinnell's,
never-
Grinnell's, it's posted, no grills, no nothing at Grinnell's.
Yeah,
And that's
but on the,
posted
well,
down there.
then maybe we need to clarify that on the town website too. Because it, well, actually, I shouldn't say that. What I circled was just under beaches, and then specifically it does get into Grinnell's, but I didn't shot that, so I don't know. Oh,
I'm sure we need to clarify it. There's a lot of things we need to clarify.
yeah, true.
So I think we're at the point where we'll bring this back and have a proposal to take a look at for next meeting, Bob. Sound good?
That's fine.
Cool. Awesome.
Thank you, Bob. You did a fantastic job with that.
Lot
Thank
of
you.
work on this. Thanks, Bob.
Did that during Labor Day at the campground,
Yeah.
by the pool.
Some of us have cocktails. Bob is working on camping regulations.
On that unicorn float.
For both. All right. I sent this around just to have everybody take a look at it. The 2021 commission meeting schedule. So essentially what I did is it's the second Tuesday of every month. On months where Monday is a holiday, usually because the town council bumps their meeting back one day, we bump ours back one day. I want to vote on it next meeting, but I circulated it now to see if anybody has any concerns, objections, general feedback. Kind of what we've been doing, I think. All right. Hearing none, if you have any thoughts later on, send it to me. Otherwise, we'll vote on that next meeting.
I was just gonna bring up under new business.
Okay, let me get through the next
All right.
item, and then you're welcome to fire away. This is actually not a vote. It's something we'll have next time, but election of officers. Joe brought this up, as did Bob. We have to vote on officers next month. So if anybody is interested in a position or doesn't want to continue their existing one, please reach out, let me know. Happy to help coordinate. Would love to keep the same group we have going, but also understand things change. So putting that out there because we have a usual vote date.
And just so you know, all commissions in the town hold elections and re-election of officers every October. It's not just, we do the same thing at the cemetery commission. And every year I try and give up secretary, but I can't.
Are people dying to take your job? Sorry, I'm sorry. That was an awful bad joke.
Because he looks so good in the dress.
That's what it is. Joe, that was our secret, dang.
Anyway, cool. All right, so that's my spiel on elections. Bob, what else did you want to touch on?
Actually, Joe Perry got a message from a woman who would like to put a memorial bench in the name of her father down at Fogland Beach. She's willing to pay for the bench and everything else like that. But I guess her and her dad just spent a lot of time down at Fogland Beach. That was his spot. Her dad passed away. So she would like to put a memorial bench down there with her dad's name somewhere on the beach. And she would just like to know if the commission would have a problem with that and if the commission would approve something like that. My personal opinion, I don't have a problem with that. I think it's a nice thing to do. And I would, I'll make a motion that we allow it to happen.
But I think, I guess my first question is there any reason why we can't approve it? Rick or Joe, do you know of any reason that we wouldn't be allowed to put a memorial bench down at Fogland?
The things that pop to mind, I don't know if there's any standards that do not allow it down there. And the second thing would be, what would be the expectations on maintenance? What kind of bench, et cetera?
It's gonna be a
I would-
marble bench or a stone bench. It's gonna be a marble bench. You know, and you know, we already explained, Joey explained to the person that we will not be responsible for it if somebody steals or damage or anything like that. It's not our responsibility. Joe even suggested maybe Grinnell's would be a better spot for it, but she really would rather have it at Fogland because that's where her and her dad used to go all the time. So, you know, again, I mean, it's going to be like a stone bench. I don't think it's going to take any type of maintenance as far as painting or anything else like that because it's stone.
Bob, if I can jump in for a minute, Bob,
Yeah.
I told this person that it would have to go before Recreation and the town council to be approved, because I didn't know if you could do that, first of all. Secondly, don't put a bench there that would be worth money to somebody who could steal it and go cash it in somewhere for scrap iron. And they were talking at marble or cement. But that was, and the only reason why they wanted to put it there is, like Bob said, she spent a lot of time there with her dad. But I did tell her that was something that had to be approved or recommended by the Recreation Committee and passed on to the town council for approval. So she, I did give Bob her information.
Yep.
So either you can take it, Stu, and she'll contact you, or you contact her, one of the two.
I can forward you that information still.
Well, yeah, I mean, I love the idea of, and I can completely understand why somebody would want to put a bench down there. I guess my one question would be is that based on the way that the beach is set up, we might have one, sorry, Dan, I'm just going to mute you because I'm getting an echo. We might have one cement or marble bench, and then the rest of the beach would be wood or something else. So just from a visual aesthetic standpoint, it might be inconsistent, which may not be a big deal. And I'm also trying to think of where would it go? Would we pull out one of the picnic tables that's fallen apart to do it? Would it go somewhere else? So yeah, I'm happy to kind of go through it with her and figure it out. And first glances, it seems like a really nice gesture. So. Any other thoughts?
Stu, it's Rachel. Can you hear me?
I can. Go ahead.
I agree with you. I think it sounds like it could be something wonderful. We need some more information. Obviously, we need to put something down there that can stand up to the elements, and placement will be important. I don't think we could just blindly approve a bench is placed anywhere down there. We would have to work out a place for it. And I think, I know Bob had mentioned something about a motion to approve, but I think we'll have to hold off on that until next month when we can get some more information.
Bob, are you willing to just sort of table that till next month when we have more info?
Yeah, that's fine. No, that's fine. I mean, when I said a motion to approve, what I meant was I think I'd like to say that, you know, we as a committee don't have a problem with it, and then move it on to the town council. But if you want to hold off on until next meeting, I don't have a problem with that. You know.
Yeah, I don't think you should make a motion on this. I think this is something that, like Rachel said, we should look at, make sure, you know, it's going to meet the needs to be down there, first of all, weather-wise, and then discuss it before we put our stamp on it, so to speak. And that's what they were looking for. They just wanted to know if I thought it would be acceptable and what was the process of doing that. So that's where I left it.
So she also emailed me, and Stu, I forwarded you the email, so you probably have her contact information already.
Yep, I do. So Bob, I can connect with you and Joe or whoever. We can figure out a way to regroup with her. I think Rick, I'll be curious.
Did you get the text I just sent you?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you send it to me or to somebody else?
You're the only stew I have in here.
I have not seen anything show up yet, but
Okay, I'll try and I'll do it another way.
all right, cool. Well, yeah, we can figure it out. And I think, Rick, it'll be important to know from you, what's it going to take if we decide this is what we want to do, both from a time standpoint and a placement and materials, because I don't know any of those things. I did, just to backtrack on one thing, on a different topic. Dave Paul very kindly sent me a note. Hi, Dave. I think he's watching. Just about the dog park. He said site survey is being performed. Fundraising committee working on grants. They have a volunteer contractor who's ready to clear the land after the survey is complete. And he also mentioned that if anybody is interested, they are looking for more volunteers to help with the process. You can email rfjonesmemorialdogpark@gmail.com. Future doing infomercials.
What I would say on that, Stu, is at least when it was being discussed, maybe 6-9 months ago, it was clear to me that there had to be a plan submitted. I'm glad they're doing the site survey. Before any work was done, a plan had to be submitted to at least the administrator, and it had to be signed off. And the tree warden had put, his input into what trees would be allowed to be removed. So hopefully everybody's on the same page, that after the site survey is done, it doesn't have to be an incredibly detailed plan, but something has to be offered for review.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know anything other than what I just read. Although I do think the job title, like tree warden, might be the coolest job title ever named. Awesome. All right. Is there anything else that we need to touch on?
Yes.
Go ahead, Rachel.
Item 8C, the summer camp
Yeah,
planning.
that's
I
right. Thank you.
do that.
Yes, I missed that. Thank you very much. So we're ways off from summer camp, but it's a good idea for us to start planning now. My thought is it makes sense for us, granted we don't know what COVID is going to bring in 2021, but we should plan for the best and hope that it works out. So what I'd like to do is see if I can get 2 volunteers to just start circling the wagons on this. Potential programs, what do we want to do for our summer camp program, kind of taking a look at that, the financial model, and then also structurally I want to do. That's as much as I have right now, but I am kind of looking for a volunteer or 2 from the commission to help out.
Stu, I'm happy to assist with that. I've been involved quite a bit with the past several years of summer camp.
I was hoping you would. All right, cool.
Baited me well.
I would work with Rachel doing that too. I don't mind if, I know a lot about working with kids. So.
Cool. Let's put the 2 of you on that. Again, not having Sandy this past year and then not having a program, I think we can reinvent our summer camp a little bit if we want to. We don't have to, but it's something we can look at and kind of take stock of what other programs around the state do and see if there's anything we want to adopt. I think we also need to take into account that maybe the second half of the summer, but hopefully we'll have new pickleball courts as well as an outdoor fitness area that we may be able to apply in some element of what we're doing. So more info on that will be forthcoming as soon as I think the contract is ultimately signed, but something to consider in the planning. So Sarah, if you and Rachel can connect on that, thank you both for stepping up to do it.
I just want to say, if you guys can look at the Bristol program, they have a fantastic program.
Yeah, they also have a full-time year-round rec director.
Do they?
I'm pretty sure. I think a lot of the times I had this conversation with the guys from soccer. It was like managing forms is fun, but it'd be nice to have. I don't think we can keep Sarah year round. The whole teaching thing gets in the way.
Oh, darn students. Kids wanting to learn. Oh,
Kids are so needy these days. They want
I know.
education.
It's tough having a career too.
That's your first mistake right there. Cool. All right. Is there anything else we need to touch on? Oh, all right. I've got 7:49. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, John.
All right. I've got Bob and then Dana. You seconded it. All in favor? Wave your hand if your screen is off. You can. wave it.